So I found a YouTube video that shares the divine purpose of the universe. I just thought I'd share it with you guys because it seems pretty important. Like, you should know what the divine purpose of the universe is. Brought to you by Eckhart Tolle. Sponsored by Oprah O Magazine. Oprah O own the OWN network. The divine purpose of the universe. So to summarize it all, because the divine purpose of the universe was just the hook of his video, to the summary, which was to experience the form and the formlessness. That's pretty much what he sums it up to at the end. That's the divine purpose of the universe. But the divine purpose of this, let's say the mind control purpose of this video, is to define the individual, the new age version of spirituality, to define that into the idea of being engaged in that divine purpose of the universe. And these people like channelers, like Bashar and Cryon and Abraham Hicks, all the ones who are sponsored by, like Cryon has spoken at the United Nations. They are saying the same thing. They're speaking the same language over and over again. It's just a matter of what are they saying. I've been listening to them for about 8 years now. Excuse me. And I hadn't looked at any of Eckhart Tolle's stuff in a while, but I wanted to check this out now because this was the latest one called The Divine Purpose of the Universe. The beginning of this is all talking about, it's leading up, he just summarizes it towards the end. So the beginning of this video is just talking about the balances of the universe. You know, some people do this and some people do that. And he's going to get into that too. But what I wanted to emphasize with this video is the the intention of the New Age mind control program, which is to create this state of limbo consciousness. It's like an alphabet or kindergarten consciousness that has the illusion of some kind of meaning and purpose through the idea of awakening, through the idea of evolution, the same way. So the same way the idea through the scientism community is to tell the whole world that we are evolving through monkey evolution. Well, in the New Age community, to have the same effect that evolution has on the people in that frame of consciousness, in the New Age community, to have the same effect of people on the New Age community, they tell you you're evolving. Well, just swap the word or they tell you you're awakening or ascending. So just swap the word ascending and awakening with evolving or evolution from monkeys. So it went from third gear to fourth gear. Now you're going from fourth gear to fifth gear, where you're still in a bucket ass car that's going down a busted ass highway. It's not designed for you because you can go so far beyond this prepackaged, sponsored bullshit. So I wanted to share this Eckhart Tolle information with you to see how the actual mindset of the New Ager is formulated, because you can see how it's designed. It creates this idea of where there's these people and then there's those people and then there's these people that fit somewhere in between, and these are the balances of the universe. There's the extreme of those people and the extremes of these people, and then what happens is in all the balances of all this is basically what he said in the first 7 minutes and 48 seconds of this video that you missed. With all the balances and the beauty and the billions of people and billions of humans and billions of species, we're all experiencing ourselves through our own, style of consciousness or whatever, however he explains it. but you still recognize the one person, your friend, out of 7 billion people in the whole on the whole planet. You recognize that one. So it's like Bobby Hemmett breaks down. He calls it romanticism. So the New Age agenda is about romanticizing this world to create another idea or create another illusion of evolving. So since they can't sell monkey evolution anymore, now they have to sell spiritual evolution, and they call it awakening or ascending, but all to have the same effect on the individual. So I'll play this real quick. Hopefully you can hear it. So you can see, and I'll pause it here and there. The sound's going to get a little different because I'm swapping mics, but we'll see if it works. So
some are much more going within and to being, to the source. But I would suggest that it's not either or. There are certain spiritual traditions that look upon it as more as either or. They say, forget about the world, just realize who you are, and then you can just sit in a corner for the rest of your life and never do anything again. You don't need to. That's one way, but for us, it's finding a certain balance, which doesn't mean it needs to be totally in balance. There are very few humans who are totally balanced.
you hear how he says us, for us. So this is what I wanted to focus on, because these are the main issues that you have to see how. That's how he's talking to the people. See, that's a way of talking to the people. This is how New Age teachers talk to the people. They say, this is for us. There are those people, the ones who are mega spiritual, ultra spiritual, and they are the ones who go off into the mountains and meditate forever. Those are those ones. We are the spiritual ones, us, who do a little something else. We stay a little bit engaged in the world, but we don't go full on out. And so he's saying that he says that there's nothing wrong with the differences between you and that person. But what he's not acknowledging, and you'll see it, is that he's not saying that there's nothing different between you, the person in the mountain meditating, and the other person who's down in the gutter in the city who's doing the same thing. Like, they will never in the New Age community put that individual on the same evolutionary platform as themselves or a higher monk, because it totally discredits their false illusion of being separate, like in that whole consciousness evolution. Well, these are these people and those are those people, and we are here and they are there. See, this is that whole bullshit that is that whole ascension, awakening, trickster magic. So I just wanted to pause this here so you can see and listen furthermore. He's set the standard. He said there's super like mega, he's basically saying those are the super mega spirituals, but you don't have to do that. You can just be yourself. Just be a regular Western version of a monk. See, this is that half-ass version spirituality that the Western world needs to sell in order to validate its own evolution up to now. So it can say, oh, well, we did okay. We made some spiritual people out of all the mess that we fucked up throughout these centuries. We made our own idea of consciousness and connecting to a higher purpose. We did it too. So go fuck yourself, you guys. That's basically what they're doing with the New Age community. And at the same time, shitting on everybody else. But this is what I wanted to do, just to point out this whole idea of lack of movement. There's a space that the New Age community wants to keep you at, and keep other people at by saying, oh, well, these are those people, we only do so much. Like, oh, listen for yourself. Let's see what he said.
In the outward movement of creating and the inward movement of connecting with your inner being and the source of all life.
As if there's a difference.
So that the universe can create through you without losing itself in its creations.
There's no way.
So you can create not from a place of egoic need, where you depend on the outcome. If I don't get that, I'll kill myself. If I don't achieve, if I don't get famous and rich, I don't know what I'll do. Not that.
So what the New Age community has to do is it has to create a villain in order to make itself a superhero. So the villain in the New Age community is the ego. So the ego is this, dragon that needs to be tamed or slayed by the angels of the New Age self. And once they have slayed their ego dragon, they've conquered themselves. They've saved the day. They've become one with whatever it is that they think they're becoming one with. So they constantly play this game of saying, well, there's the individual ego, and then there's like all this stuff that's going on in the world. And as soon as that happens, you see how they play all this out in the future. Like as soon as things happen in the ego world to change, then everything, which it's biding time. That's what it is, stealing time. Actually, when these lullabiers like Eckhart Tolle just talk to, they talk to you very slowly. It's consciousness that it's experiencing itself through form and formlessness. It's
but a playful participation in the world of form and contributing to it, to the world of form, without losing itself in the creation and in the doing.
Yeah.
If you become stressed, means you're losing yourself in the doing.
We're losing ourselves.
That's so true. You become uprooted. You're no longer connected to the spaciousness, the unconditioned, the one.
The one. That's what he says. That's what he wants to get at. You're no longer. Where the hell? You're no longer connected to the one, which is what this New Age space wants to sell it, as if you are ever disconnected from whatever that space is. And also saying the one is just the same as like saying human and all this other stuff. It's this idea of separation to create this illusion, this like super villain, superhero, super ascension, super descension, or whatever it is, like descending. Yeah, and you have to fit somewhere in the middle. You see, these are these salesmen too.
Then, so to be and do at the same time. But some humans, yes, are much more drawn to being. I call them frequency holders. They hold the frequency of being on the planet. They're not interested in creating huge things out there. They're interested in doing perhaps little things.
This is the point of the whole video. He's going to start explaining what little things are. But the New Age community, this is the premise of that. To create this idea of frequency holders. Frequency holders is another form of stifling potential energy. Is this saying that there are no frequency holders? No. What this is saying is that there are what this guy is calling frequency holders who are taking this idea of frequency holder through the ego interpretation of reality and missing out on their maximum potential because they're buying into the egotistical version of this ascension, awakening terminology that he is saying, we, us, the oneness people. We are the frequency holders. So the entire New Age community now calls themselves frequency holders, and they never engage in the world. This is their justification for never engaging in the world and also separating themselves from other people in the rest of the world, holding themselves as a holier than thou because they are the frequency holders. They don't have to do anything anymore. They're just supposed to hold the frequencies. And the whole point is that they have the privilege to just sit around and hold the frequency now. Why? Because they've had, racism, white supremacy running rampant through the Western world for these last however many hundreds of years. Now that all they got to do is sit around and just hold the fucking frequencies, right? They took all the land, they took all the resources, they took all of your ideas, your imagination, your dreams. Everything has been stolen. Now all they got to do is just tell their masses of, soldiers who are sitting on this stolen land to just sit around and hold the fucking frequencies.
Gardening, cooking, looking after animals, being with animals, helping humans in some capacity, helping even physical, helping humans with their bodies and so on. So they are frequency holders. They are more into being than there's some doing, but you always have to do something. You can't. But they don't put the emphasis on doing, the emphasis on being, and then they allow presence to flow into what they do, and they affect the world also.
Limbo.
Very significantly.
New Age.
Others
spiritual
have
limbo.
a tendency to performing creative action. They need to go out there and become active, but their challenge is not to get lost in what they do and thinking that's all important. They forget that this is a play of form.
So he reminds the people who get lost in the form, the world of form, but he doesn't say anything really about the people who get lost in the world of the formless. You can't talk about that. That is actually a higher, it's put up on a pedestal, because as long as that's put up on a pedestal, you can justify the other people who are, living their karma and living their, in the slums. You can justify living in your, $10 million mansion because that's your karma, that's your spiritual gifts that you've received from who? See all this stuff. This is why the New Age exists, to justify the shit that is unjustifiable.